our first talk for this Sunday is called Open Heart, Clear Mind. Venerable Thubten Chodron offers practical advice on how we can apply Buddhist psychology to modern life in order to better understand ourselves and improve our quality of life. Venerable Thubten Chodron is an author, teacher, and the founder of the abbess Sravasti Abbey, a pioneering Tibetan Buddhist training monastery for Western nuns and monks in the United States. Ordained as a Tibetan Buddhist nun in 1977, she received full ordination as a Bhikshuni in 1986. Venerable Chodron teaches worldwide and is known for her warm, practical and humorous explanations of how to apply Buddhist teachings in our lives. Please welcome Venerable Chodron online from the United States.
Good. So thank you for inviting me to participate in the Metta Convention. And I want to just take a moment before we begin, just to pause and reflect on our motivation. So that we all come to this with the same motivation, the same intention, which is to increase our good qualities, not just so that we become famous and popular or rich or something like that, but so that we can use our good qualities and our talents to be a benefit to society, to benefit the people around us, all the living beings around us, so that we place what we're about to do now very squarely within the motivation of being of service to other living beings. Okay, so I'm just wondering because I'm just seeing a Zoom screen. Okay, I'd like to see, there's the audience. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Okay, so to talk about Open Heart, Clear Mind, which was or is the title of the first book that I wrote. I never intended to write books, but somehow it came out like that. And when I wrote that book, I thought at the end, what is it that I want people to come away with? Yeah, what do I want them to have as a result of reading this book? And I thought I want them to have an open heart and a clear mind. Okay, so then the question is, why an open heart? Yeah, why a clear mind? Let me start with the clear mind first, okay? So by clear mind, I was thinking people who have very clear, correct ideas about how things exist and what is happening in the world, okay? And I think with all the conspiracy theories that are going on nowadays, having a clear mind and correct conceptions can be harder and harder to come by. So, for example, learning the Buddhist worldview, okay? Because a lot of us grew up in a Christian context. Our worldview is God created the universe. We're suffering because of an apple, what happened with an apple. And the way to salvation is pleasing God. And what salvation is not particularly clear. It's kind of like being in heaven forever with your relatives or something like that. And so we grew up with that kind of context that we have to, that somebody else made the rules, we have to follow them. If we follow them well, we get rewarded. If we break the rules, we get punished and sent to hell. So this, I'm just speaking in a very, very general way, of course, but Buddhism has a very different world kind of view, which is the Buddha didn't create anything. The Buddha just described how our mind works and how our mind is involved in creating the reality that we experience. Yeah. In other words, that our life isn't just me, an independent me here, and all these objective things out there that are unrelated to me, other people, other material, and then this me who's an independent entity here, and my chief preoccupation becomes to protect me. Yeah, give me happiness, protect me from danger. Yeah, and so that becomes our way of approaching the world, but that's not how the Buddha described it. Yeah, the Buddha said that actually our mind is involved in creating our experience. Okay, now what does that mean? Okay, there's two ways to take that. One is how we interpret things right now influences how we experience them. Okay, so we know this, that with two people can look at the same thing and see it very, very differently. And according to how we see it and describe it to ourselves, we experience it very differently. I'll give you an example. When I was many years ago in hiking in the Himalayas, we had been up to Namche Bazaar. We were wanted to fly out of Lukla, for any of you have ever been there. And we got to Lukla. So it was a little village at that time. It had a runway for a small plane. And at the end of the runway was a crashed plane. And beyond the runway was a cliff. Yeah, really inspires confidence. Yeah. And we were stuck there because the weather was bad and the plane wasn't taking off. So I was with a friend of mine, and one of the villagers came and offered to put us up for the night. Yeah, so we could take the plane the next day. And I interpreted his offer as, oh, he sees we're Westerners and we're stuck, so he's going to offer us accommodation and then charge us an arm and a leg because he's just taking advantage of tourists. So I don't want to really do this. My friend, his interpretation was, oh, this man came and knew we were stuck, and he very kindly is opening his house so that we can stay there and we don't have to camp out in the open. Okay, so me and my friend, the same situation. The man said the same words to both of us at the same time. I was unhappy and suspicious. My friend saw kindness. Same situation. Yeah, so right there is a really good example of how our attitude, how we interpret things, it influences how we experience them. So if we go through life always picking at faults, always thinking of things of this is not fair, I'm a victim, whatever it is, then that's the way our whole life appears to us and how we experience it. If we train our mind to see kindness, then whoever we encounter, yeah, we experience as kind. Okay, so that's one example of like having a good view. Because if you try and live with people who are certain that what they see with their eyes is an objective reality, then they become very, very entrenched in their own views and very stubborn. And especially if their view is something negative, then their whole world becomes like that. Okay, so we don't want to be like that. Another way that our mind influences what we experience is in terms of our actions, our karma. Okay, and so here we're talking about the karma, the actions we do that leave a potential in our mind stream that influence what we will experience in the future. So, for example, Nagarjuna, one of the Buddhist sages, said that generosity is the cause of wealth. Yeah, we go, oh, generosity, the cause of wealth. No, if I'm generous and I give things away, then I don't have it. Generosity is a cause of poverty. Okay, so we become very stingy, very miserly. We don't want to share. When it's time to give somebody a present, we only give something worth a certain amount so that the people don't think we're cheapskates, but we don't really give with a generous heart that wants them to have happiness. Okay, so we may give something, but there's no generous heart there. So that's going to produce a certain kind of result for us in the future. Yeah. Or if we don't give it at all because we're feeling like, oh, if I give, then I won't have, then that leads to a karmic result of being impoverished or lacking what we need. Whereas if we really think, oh, generosity is the cause of wealth, why do I have so many things around me? I have food every day. I have a place to live. I have friends. I have an education. Wow, I really have a lot in my life. Where did all of this come from? Well, it's a result of my own actions that I created in previous lives, in particular, being generous. Yeah. So then if we think like that, then we create more generosity. And when we do give, we give with a happy mind. We really want others to experience happiness. And we know that giving will bring happiness to us too. Okay. So you see, there's those two ways in which what's going on in our mind influences how we perceive our life. One is how we interpret it, an event in this very moment. That was the example of trying to fly out of Lukla. And then the second, in terms of what actions we do now that leave imprints in our mind that bring about the circumstances that we will live in future lives. Yeah. And so to really see that it's not like there's this objective world out there that we have to manipulate, but we are involved in creating it. And that gives us a lot of power, because then if we can develop our good qualities, our generosity, our ethical conduct, our fortitude, our concentration and wisdom and joyous effort and all these kinds of good qualities, if we can develop love and compassion and so on, then we can create a very good life for ourselves now and in the future, and create the causes for us to be able to practice the Dharma in the future and even attain higher states of being, such as full awakening. Okay, so that's a little bit about the clear mind, the correct ideas that I think are so important that I wanted people to come away with. So that people realize our actions matter. Yeah, what we think matters. What we do matters. It not only matters to other people, but it matters to us and what we experience. Yeah. So that we really cherish our life, and we see every moment as an opportunity to make our actions and our thoughts matter in a way that we will contribute to the happiness of other living beings, and thus to our own happiness. So that's the clear mind part of it. The first part of the title was open heart. Okay. So what I also wanted people to come away with in the book was an open heart. In other words, a heart that is not constricted. Yeah. And a heart that's not always thinking, me, I, my, mine. What benefits me? Do these people like me? How can I get more? Who's trying to threaten me? I want people to do this. I want people to do that. They're not listening to me. I want to change reality. I. Yeah. Instead of I, it becomes I. Okay. And, that heart is so constricted that even when people are kind to us, we can't even see it as kindness. Yeah. Because we're like this, always suspicious of other people, trying to figure out what we can get from them and so on. Very closed heart. Yeah. And I really wanted people to come away with, to be able to live a life without so much fear and anxiety. Because that's what I see in the world today. People being so worried, so anxious, so afraid. And although fear, anger, worry, anxiety, they're all are different, but they share some common thing, of this undue emphasis on me and seeing the world in terms of what benefits and what harms me, and always going to the worst case scenario. Okay. So, and we see this, like I see in my own, my family, in my family, if you worry about somebody, it means you love them. Yeah, I see some nodding heads there. Is that way in your family? How do you show love for somebody? You worry about them. Okay. Now, how many of you have had parents that just worry about you all the time? Is it a pleasant feeling to have somebody worry about you? It's horrible. My parents worried so much about me. And to me, it felt very, very oppressive. And all their worry didn't bring them any happiness. It didn't bring them any security, because, when I was a teenager, I knew that if I got home 1 minute late, my mother would be on the phone with the police saying, my daughter's been kidnapped. Go out and find her, or she's been in a car accident, go pick her up off the side of the extent of worst case scenario, the mind proliferating. And it becomes a burden on the people. It's not a manifestation of love. And it makes the worrier and the anxious person totally miserable. Okay. Whereas if we have more of an open heart and we see people and we see life as, yes, accidents can happen, but by and large, people are kind. Yes, they're selfish. Yes, there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world and a lot of conspiracy theories. But if I am patient, I can find something to talk about with anybody. I can find something good in anybody I meet. Okay, so I'll give you an example of that. My teacher some years ago got all of the monks and nuns and his lay disciples together. There were, I don't know, 300 of us. I don't know how many, a lot, you know, enough so that we were all crammed in together. And we were there for 3 months doing all the, all these Dharma teachings and things like that. And, people think that if you live in a monastery, that everybody is the same. I mean, you have the same haircut, you wear the same clothes, you say the same prayers. You're just cookie cutter personalities. Wrong. Yeah. If you're in a monastery, you find all different personalities. Yeah, all the Buddhists are not alike, and just like all Christians are not alike, not all Jews are alike, not all Muslims are alike. Okay, so I gave myself the assignment that during those 3 months, I was going to find a way to have a good conversation with every single one of those 300 people. Okay, so it sounds easy, but sometimes how our mind is very quick to judge other people. You just look at a person and you think you know everything about them. Why do they cut their hair like that? Oh, it must be da 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 da. Why don't they laugh at my jokes? Well, it means they're antisocial, blah, 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 blah. And we like to give people a label, put them in a box, and think we know everything about them. Okay, that's our stupidity. So giving myself the assignment that I had to have a good discussion, not just some chit-chat stupid thing, but a good discussion with everybody at least once during those 3 months. So I had to really push myself. Yeah, I don't always go around and, meet new people, but I gave myself this assignment. So I went and I made sure that I talked with everybody in that whole group. And at first, I may not have known what in the world to talk with some people about. They were from different countries, different backgrounds. The way they saw Buddhism was different than the way I saw it. They had, were different political opinions. Yeah, different ways we wanted to practice. How am I going to talk with these people? But when I really tried, I found that, yeah, I could talk to everybody and have a good discussion with them. And when I did that, it really gave me a lot of confidence because I realized that everywhere I went, if I was open and friendly, I could make friends, even with somebody who was entirely different from me. And I really saw this as I traveled, because I traveled a lot after school, is that, living in other cultures with other people who thought differently, that if I put myself out there, yeah, I could learn so much from other people. Even their opinions were totally opposite from what I thought. Yeah, if I sat and listened to them and asked them questions, not critical questions, trying to change their mind or prove them wrong, but really questions because I was curious about how they thought, then it was amazing to really learn, why people think a certain thing is good or why they like a certain thing. And it was so educational, and I wound up being happier myself. Yeah. Okay. So this open heart, this willingness to talk to everybody, to not just say, oh, I got to protect myself. Yeah. But to have a worldview where our basic mode of operation is one of friendliness. And in Theravada Buddhism, when you talk about metta, this is one of the meanings of metta. Yeah, an open-heartedness, a friendliness, a mode of being whereby you just approach the world in a friendly way, not in a fearful, anxious, critical, suspicious way. Yeah. And that really changes our life. Yeah. We approach everybody. Okay. We give people the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Some people later might betray our trust, or they might harm us or whatever. But why do they do that? It's not because they're horrible people and they're inflicting tragedy on us. It's because they're in pain and misery. So I don't have to go, when I experience suffering, I don't have to go to blaming somebody else. I don't have to go to being angry at somebody else, at pointing fingers at other people. Yeah, I can say, okay, I gave that person the benefit of the doubt. In this specific situation, maybe I trusted them a little bit. I gave them more trust than they could bear. Okay. But when they didn't live up to my expectations, it wasn't because they're bad people. It was because their minds were in pain and they were confused. And whatever they did, they were doing as an attempt to be happy. So what is the appropriate emotion that I want to cultivate towards those people and those situations? Compassion. So we have metta, love, wanting people to have happiness, being friendly towards them. Yeah. When they mess up, like we mess up, then karuna, compassion. Okay. Not karuna, criticism. That's not compassion. So responding, because when we mess up, we want other people's compassion. Yeah, we don't want them to say, oh, you are an awful person because you did this and this. Yeah, we want them to have some compassion for our foibles. Let's give that to other people too. It saves us so much pain, because being angry at others is really painful and miserable. Unless anybody here likes being angry? Anybody happy being angry? Yeah, you get up in the morning and say, oh, I get to be angry today. I'm going to have such a good day. No, when we're angry, we are miserable. Anger is our enemy. Okay. Okay, so love, compassion. Yeah. Then the third one is joy. Yeah, mudita. Yeah, joy. And joy is when we see people doing well. Whether we contributed to them doing well or not, they're doing well. So we rejoice. Yeah. This is a very good opponent to jealousy. Because sometimes when people do well, or they are better than us in some things, or they have talents we don't have, we don't want them to have happiness. We don't want them to have a good reputation or get recognized. Yeah, I should have the good reputation. I should be noticed. I should be praised. and again into this whole thing, you know, and again, we're miserable. I think my experience is jealousy is even more miserable than anger. Yeah. Anger, yes, I'm miserable. Jealousy, is just torturous. Yeah. Because, I mean, look at the mind of jealousy. Here's somebody who's happy. We're always saying, may sentient beings have happiness and its causes. Here's people who are happy. And we didn't even have to lift a finger to make them happy. Can we rejoice at their happiness? No. We want them to suffer because we want their happiness. Ugh. What a horrible mental state that is, isn't it? It's miserable. Totally miserable. I discovered this myself because my teacher, sometimes in the early morning, around 4 o'clock, he would do pujas and he would ask, you know, certain people to come in his room and do the morning meditation with him. And I was assigned to lead a course, so I wasn't able to come in and do those meditations. And I was so jealous of these other people who got to go and meditate in the, you know, the still morning, just a small group of people, meditate with my teacher and have him guide you in your meditation. Oh, I wanted to do that, and they got to do it. And I had to go lead meditations and give a course. I was so jealous. That shows my stupidity. Okay. Looking back on that now, I go, oh my God, you know, because here it was, my teacher was trusting me enough to teach other people the Dharma. I couldn't appreciate that because I thought, oh, the best way to accumulate merit is to sit at my teacher's feet and do pujas at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I was totally miserable, jealous of the other people who got to go. And meanwhile, I mean, I made myself so miserable because I was creating merit, but not even rejoicing in my own merit. Yeah. So jealousy, if you want to make yourself miserable, jealousy is a really good way to do it. Okay. That's if you want to make yourself miserable. Yeah. Another way to make yourself miserable is worry, anxiety, suspicion. And that'll make you miserable too. Okay. We're so creative in how to make ourselves unhappy, aren't we? Yeah. I'm being facetious. Okay. So that joy, mudita, looking and saying, oh, somebody's good at this. They're better than I am at this. That's wonderful. Because if I were the best that this world had to offer, we would be in bad straits. Okay? Yeah, I'm so glad people know that more than me. Yeah, because let me tell you, if my knowledge and skills were the epitome of the human race, there would be no electricity, no plumbing, no roads, no cars, no industry. We would just basically sit around and talk all day and meditate. Yeah, we wouldn't have any places to live. We wouldn't have food because I don't know how to grow food. Yeah, it's really good that other people are better than me, isn't it? Yeah. And we start, when we open our eyes and we see, wow, look how much we've received from other people. I can't, everything I have, everything I know, everything I do, you know, whatever talents and abilities I have, They didn't come because I created them. They came because other people taught me and encouraged me and corrected me when I messed up. Yeah. So how kind this world is and how kind these other people are. And I'm glad they're better than me. Okay. So that's mudita. Then the last one. So we have what? Metta, karuna, mudita. Fourth one, upekkha. Upekkha means equanimity. Yeah. And this is the kind, there's different kinds of equanimity, but what it means here is the equanimity of you want to help people, but they are not open to receiving your help. Yeah. You could see somebody has so much talent, but they box themselves in, and you try and help them open up and see their abilities. And they're like, no. Yeah. Or you see somebody starting to slide down that slippery slope, into depression or into addiction or something. And you try and give them some advice, and you invite them to things and, try and help them. They are not open at all. Yeah. So at that point, it's very, very easy to get frustrated and get angry at them. So that's why at that point, when we try and help, but they aren't ready for it, equanimity. Yeah. I don't judge. I keep an open mental state. So when people, if they change, they know they can come back and talk to me then. Whereas if I try and help somebody and they don't want to listen, and I get angry and I say, you're so stupid, why don't you listen to me and follow my advice, get out of here. Then, if they one day realize, oh, I'm stuck, I need some help, they're not going to come to me because they know all I'm going to do is scold them and criticize them. But if I can maintain equanimity, then the door is always open. Yeah. I can't control the other person. I can't make them do what I want them to do. Yeah. I see talent in them that they don't see in themselves. I want to bring it out. They're not ready yet. I maintain equanimity. And then later, because causes and conditions change, then because I left the door open, at a later point in time, there will be the opportunity to be a benefit. Okay, so these four, love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. These are called the four immeasurables, and they're a really wonderful way. What I gave you is just one explanation of them. There's several explanations. But those four can be a really wonderful guide to our life of how to live a happy life and how to bring happiness to the people around us and to the society around us. Yeah. And so it doesn't take so much effort. We think of, I want to bring happiness. What about being polite to the people that you meet at the gas station? To the people when you have to call a service center. You bought something and it doesn't work properly, or you need to change your airline ticket, and you're on the phone on hold for an hour before they pick up. Our tendency is just wait. There's human beings on the other end of the line. Can I be nice to them? Can I see them as human beings who want to be happy and don't want to suffer? And can I thank them for the work that they do? Yeah. I mean, why not thank the people who are ringing up the groceries, Why not thank the people who are at the gas station? Why not thank the people who are repairing the roads? Why not thank the people who collect our garbage? You know, garbage collectors are extremely important. Yeah, we tend to poo-poo, oh, what a job. Those people, if they don't work, we're in big trouble. I was once in Tel Aviv, and the garbage collectors were on strike. The streets of that city were piled high with stinky garbage. Yeah. At that point, I think everybody really began to see garbage collectors play a very important part in our world. We need to thank them. Yeah. It doesn't take long to thank our garbage collector. Yeah. You just go outside, wait for them to drive by in the garbage truck, wave to them and say, thank you so much for helping to keep our place clean. How many times do you think anybody thanks them for what they do? Yeah. So us coming out and thanking them, that can be a big deal, so that they really see themselves as performing an important function because they are doing that. Okay, so I think my time is ending. There is time for maybe one or two questions or comments. Anybody has something that they would like to add or ask?
Good morning. Venerable Chodron, hello.
Hello.
We have one question from someone online. This
Okay.
person would love to hear about practices to cultivate mudita. Thank you.
Practices to cultivate mudita. Train your mind so that whenever you see somebody doing something, you look at what part of what they're doing is good and you rejoice. Yeah. So you see, you go out to a restaurant with your friends. There's people cooking. Yeah. Wow, look what they're doing. Yeah. They're using their life to cook food for me. And I just have to sit here and then somebody else brings it and I eat it. This is kindness, isn't it? Yeah. And the people cooked very well. I'm so grateful to them for doing that. Yeah. Or you even look at your family members instead of, because we tend often to be so critical of family members. But train your mind when you see somebody doing something well and just say, wow, look at that. Look what they're doing. Or somebody you're jealous of. Say, I'm glad that they're successful in that way. My rejoicing doesn't give them any more happiness. My rejoicing gives me some happiness. My jealousy doesn't remove their happiness. My jealousy removes mine. So you train your mind to really see what people do well and rejoice. Yeah, it's a mind training practice. Yes, you have to set your motivation to do this in the morning, and then as you go through the day, really, practice it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Venerable. We have time for one other question, and we have a question right at the front from Bhante Sujato. Just hang on.
Okay.
Hi, Venerable. How are you going?
I'm good. I can't see you. Where are you?
Well, it's okay. I can see you, so that's fine. It's good to see you and good to see you looking well and so on. I just wanted to ask you, yesterday I was speaking with Venerable Sona up in Canada, and we talked briefly about how climate change is impacting our respective countries. Like,
yes.
So we're having a record heat wave at the moment in many parts of Australia. How I know this is something that you've been concerned about for a long time. I remember seeing you speak on this issue many times in the past. How do you cope with it? Like anxiety and fear and all of those things. Like, what do we do? How do we get by?
Okay. First of all, getting anxious and fearful does not prevent the climate from changing. Getting anxious and fearful immobilizes us so that we can't prevent climate change. Okay, so really seeing the faults of that kind of mind. Also, the way I look at it, yeah, and you may agree or disagree, is I do what I can. I cannot control the world. Yeah. Alone, I cannot stop climate change. I can do what I'm able to do. I can talk to other people about it and encourage them. But I should not have an unrealistic craving that I'm going to save the world from climate change. I can't do that. So I have to learn how to be satisfied with what I can do on an individual level and what I can encourage other people to do. Yeah, without being distracted by getting anxious and fearful and angry and so on. Second of all, you know, if you have the Buddhist worldview, you know that our planet is one speck of dust in this universe. There is sentient life throughout this universe. So many realms of existence, so many places where human beings can live. We may not know them all because the universe is infinite, but there's plenty of places. So my idea is if this world somehow becomes uninhabitable for human beings, the people with karma to be born as a human being will be born in other worlds where the climate is hospitable to be born as a human being. In other words, if you create the karma for it, you will be born in that kind of environment. This speck of dust is not the only place. So for me, it really comes back to living an ethical life, doing what I can, of course, to stop climate change and preserve life now, but knowing I can't do everything, and that if I encourage people to create good karma, they will be reborn in a good human realm or some good rebirth in the future. Okay.
Venerable Chodron, thank you so much for your generous, wise words. Much gratitude, much respect. Thank you so much for joining the convention. I hesitate to comment on a Dharma in light of the powerful words, but the state of worry, knowing the relationship I have with my own family, worry as a false love was beautiful. So again, thank you from everybody here in Bankstown and everybody online.
Thank you for inviting me to do this, and I wish you all the best. I rejoice in what you're doing. Even though I'm not doing it, I can rejoice in your merit.
Much respect, much respect.
I can rejoice in your goodness. So thank you very much.